You've probably seen it 100 times. 16 gigabytes of RAM, DDR4, DDR5, 3200 megahertz, dual channel. And if you're like most people, those words just blur together into confusing tech jargon. But here's the thing, RAM is one of the most important parts of your computer, and choosing the right one can be the difference between a machine that flies and a machine that crawls. So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly what RAM is, how it works, the different types you'll see when shopping, and most importantly, how to pick the right RAM for your needs. No confusing jargon, just simple, real-world explanations. Let's dive in. So what actually is RAM? RAM stands for Random Access Memory. Think of your computer like a chef in a kitchen. Your hard drive or SSD is the pantry and fridge, storing all your ingredients long-term. But while cooking, the chef doesn't run to the pantry for every item. They keep everything they're using right on the countertop, within arm's reach. That countertop is your RAM. It's where your computer keeps everything it's actively working on right now. The web pages you have open, the document you're editing, the game you're playing, all of it lives in RAM because RAM is incredibly fast. The bigger your countertop, the more the chef can prepare at once without getting cramped. That's why RAM matters so much for everyday performance. Here's why RAM feels so magical. Random access means your computer can grab any piece of data instantly, no matter where it sits in memory. It doesn't have to scroll through everything in order to find it. Imagine a huge wall of tiny mailboxes, each with its own address. Your computer can jump straight to any mailbox and open it in a fraction of a second. Compare that to a hard drive, which is more like a record player needing to spin and seek to the right spot. RAM has no moving parts. It's pure electronics, which makes it dozens, sometimes hundreds of times faster than storage. That speed is exactly why your programs open quickly and switch smoothly when there's enough RAM to hold them. But RAM has one big catch you need to understand. It's volatile. That's a fancy word meaning it only remembers things while the power is on. The moment you shut down or restart your computer, everything in RAM vanishes instantly. Think back to the chef. At the end of the day, the countertop gets wiped clean. Anything left on it is gone. That's why you have to save your work to your hard drive. Saving takes it from the temporary countertop and puts it safely in the permanent pantry. This is also why turning your computer off and on again fixes so many problems. It completely clears out the RAM and gives you a fresh, empty countertop to work with. Now let's talk about the types of RAM you'll see when shopping. The most common kind is called DDR, short for double data rate. Over the years it's gone through generations. DDR3, DDR4, and the newest, DDR5. Each generation is faster and more efficient than the last. Think of them like generations of cars. A model from 2010 still drives, but a brand new one is faster, smoother, and uses less fuel. DDR5 is the current standard for new builds. But here's the critical point. These generations are not interchangeable. A DDR5 stick will not fit into a DDR4 slot because the notch is in a different position. So before you buy, check what your motherboard supports. Buying DDR5 for a DDR4 board is a common and expensive mistake. You'll also notice RAM comes in two different physical sizes, and this depends on your device. Desktop computers use long sticks called DIMM. Laptops and mini PCs use shorter sticks called SO-DIMM, which are roughly half the length to fit in tight spaces. It's like the difference between a full-sized bookshelf for your home and a compact travel shelf for a small apartment. They do the same job, but one is built for roomy desktops and the other for cramped laptops. You can't put a desktop stick into a laptop, so always match the form factor to your machine. If you're upgrading a laptop, search specifically for SO-DIMM memory. When you shop for RAM, two numbers matter most: capacity and speed. Capacity is measured in gigabytes and tells you how much your computer can hold at once. This is the size of your countertop: 8, 16, 32 gigabytes, and so on. More capacity means more programs open at the same time without slowing down. Speed is measured in megahertz, like 3200 or 6000. This tells you how quickly the RAM hands data to your processor. Faster RAM helps, especially in gaming and creative work. But here's the honest truth. For most people, capacity matters far more than raw speed. Jumping from 8 to 16 gigabytes feels far more dramatic than a small bump in megahertz. So get enough RAM first, then worry about speed. Here's a pro tip that most beginners miss. Dual channel. Instead of buying one single large stick of RAM, it's almost always better to buy two smaller matching sticks. For example, two sticks of 8 gigabytes instead of one stick of 16. Why? Because your computer can talk to two sticks at the same time, effectively doubling the data highway. Imagine a checkout at a supermarket. One cashier can only serve one customer at a time, but open a second lane, and the line moves twice as fast. That's dual channel. Same total capacity, but noticeably better performance, especially in gaming. So, when you buy, look for RAM kits sold as a matched pair rather than a single stick. So the big question: how much RAM do you actually need? Let me break it down simply. If you only browse the web, use email, and watch videos, 8 gigabytes is the bare minimum, though it can feel tight today. For most people, 16 gigabytes is the sweet spot. It handles browsing, office work, and mainstream gaming comfortably with room to spare. If you're a serious gamer, a video editor, or you run virtual machines, 32 gigabytes gives you plenty of breathing room. And if you do professional 3D rendering, heavy content creation, or run massive datasets, 64 gigabytes or more is worth it. But be honest with yourself. Buying way more RAM than you'll ever use is just wasted money that sits idle. Match your RAM to how you actually use your computer. Before you click buy, run through this quick checklist. First, check what generation your motherboard supports, DDR4 or DDR5. Never assume. Second, match the form factor. DIMM for desktops, so DIMM for laptops. Third, buy in a matched pair for dual channel whenever you can. Fourth, don't overspend on extreme speeds if you're a normal user. And finally, check the maximum capacity your motherboard allows. Some boards cap out at 16 or 32 gigabytes. A little research now saves you a costly return later. Reliable brands and kits with a lifetime warranty are always a safe bet. When in doubt, look up your exact computer or motherboard model and find the RAM that's confirmed to work with it. And that's RAM made simple. Just remember, RAM is your countertop, the fast temporary space where your computer does its work. Match the generation and form factor to your machine. Buy in a matched pair for dual channel, and choose enough capacity for how you actually use your computer. Get those right, and you'll have a machine that feels fast and responsive for years. If this video helped clear things up, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more no-nonsense tech explanations, and drop a comment telling me how much RAM you're running. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.